What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Average Bob, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the upcoming matchup between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants from Metlife Stadium this Thursday night in prime time. Again, year over year, it's the same tune. Let's just catch up on what happened with the Saints game. The Giants are, 0-3. They beat the 3-0 Chargers to give us a glimpse of hope. Obviously, that was a pretty banged up Chargers, but I don't want to take away from the Giants winning that game. They did do it, and everyone looked like pretty good in the process, besides the rush defense, which we'll talk to throughout this video. And then you go to the Superdome, and this was a game that a lot of people said, "Hey, we want Jackson Stark to play in this game," and you're acting like the Saints are 0-4 at that point. But to say that it was an easy game for anyone to start in or play in was just asinine, as the Giants fell 26-14 and didn't look good outside of two drives, right? You have the first two drives. I think they said on the broadcast, they said it was the first two opening drive touchdowns for the first time in like 5 years or something along those lines. So you do have success early in this game. You get into the red zone. You have Theo Johnson score 2 touchdowns. And then from that point moving forward, there's penalty after penalty. The Giants lead the league, the NFL, in penalties at this current point in time. Then you have the drops and miscues. You have a big drop to Darius Slayton at one point, an underthrown ball to him, another point on the flea flicker, then the fumbleitis that kind of occurred. So you have one from Darius Slayton, who I think at this point in time, I've seen enough out of him. I'll save this video about who I don't want to see moving forward for another day. You have the Cam Scatabo fumble in the red zone, which is terrible. It takes point off the board. And kudos for the Saints for not, backing down and trying to make plays, because that 87-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown kind of really changed the entire, game and put it on ice pretty much. And then also the Jackson Dart, almost reminiscent of like a Johnny Football style play where he's just running, he's holding it out like a loaf of bread, and it just hits off your foot or his leg or thigh perhaps, and next thing you know, you're just giving away a free turnover. A lot of ugliness in this game. Really not many positives to take really at all out, except for the first two drives, if they could have bottled that up. And like I said in the post-game wrap-up that I did with the highlights and reaction, I was feeling pretty good after the first two opening drives. Like, he's here, Dart's here, this team is here to stay. This is going to be a nice, easy win. And then the second you get a little bit cocky, it went all downhill from there. So having said that, coming into this matchup versus the Eagles, you're looking at an Eagles team that was undefeated going into last weekend, where they played the Broncos at home and lost to that team after giving up a 17-3 lead for the Broncos to win. It's another get right. I don't even want to say get right spot for a team coming to MetLife Stadium, where the Eagles have had a tremendous amount of success playing over the last decade or so. But I think the main crux of what I want for you to take away here is that the Eagles are going to be fucking pissed off. They're coming to MetLife Stadium Thursday night after blowing a terrible lead in their own house. And there has been one team that the entire league, when they need to show up and get a win against, even just to prove that they're back after blowing that game against the Broncos, is against the Giants. And what better place for the Eagles to do that than MetLife Stadium? Saquon comes back home. I'm sure they'll talk a lot about that. And I would definitely look into Saquon's rush and receiving yards. Obviously, it's going to be on the higher end of things, deservedly so, as the Giants' rush defense has been absolutely porous. They didn't play all too bad against the Saints last weekend, where Kamara was pretty much held in check for the majority of that game. But before that, you had Amari and Hampton go off significantly against this team. So you'll probably see, they're going to have to game plan to stop Saquon. But Saquon, we've seen as Giants fans over the years, right? Other teams' game plan has always been to stop Saquon. But now he has way more weapons around him, better offensive line. So you could try to game plan against him, but Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and all these other guys in this offense will find ways to beat you. It's going to take a Herculean effort for the Giants to be able to come out on top on this one, especially with just how bad things went after the first two opening drives against the Saints. Are there any keys to victory that the Giants can have? I think the only thing that they really can hang their hat on is that we still have somewhat of an unknown for Jackson Dart playing in the NFL. Can he raise his game to that's why I wish so badly that they had one against the Saints on the road, because if you're Jackson Dart's 2-0, this game Thursday night has so much riding on it. If he could go 3-0 and beat the Eagles, we would be fully back hook, line, and sinker. But when you lose a stinker on the road to the Saints, immediately on Twitter, everyone is so pissed off, back to where we are at. We're a bad team, we're shitty, blah, blah, blah. And deservedly so. This is a bad team. It's a poorly coached team on offense and defense. I don't know if those guys will make it through this season, but a lot of it will ride, I think, and determining how this next month or two goes before Thanksgiving, what this team's going to be looking like in the future from a coaching perspective. Because if you come out at home again in another place in prime time where you've looked historically pretty weak and you lose again, it just looks so much worse on a national media scale. You'll have the first take guys going off about it. Stephen A's going to be, Ron Dable's all over it. He's got to go. Let me tell you, they got to free Jackson Dart. Stuff along those lines. So the only path to victory here is going to be somewhat stopping Saquon and hoping that the Eagles are just either on a trajectory of losing to the Broncos. Maybe that carries over to this week, or they're going to be like, okay, get right game. Let's ratchet it the fuck up and use this as a springboard to carry us, further into the season, even though we play the Eagles twice in 3 weeks. So whoever set the schedule for this season for the Giants specifically, like, come on, this is absolute garbage. I mean, there's that side of it, but there's also the side. I have two, you guys know, when you watch just in my previews, I got Angel on one side, Devil on the other. The Devil's going to complain. The Angel's going to be like, we should be blah, blah. The other guy's saying, you got to beat who's in front of you. Good teams have tough schedules too, and they got to beat who's ever in front of them. Bad teams have tough schedules. They got to beat who's ever in front of them. Nothing's easy. Nothing's really taken for granted because this is the National Football League. I wish that any of these Giants wide receivers had a chance to step up. As Malik Nabers went down for the ACL injury, we really haven't seen it thus far, as Slayton was open downfield, has a drop, then he's underthrown, can't come back and make a play. Then he leaves the game with like a hamstring injury or something that happened to him. He is a wide receiver too. He's been paid $35 million starting this season, so he's under contract for 2 more years. There's a lot of dead cap space associated with cutting him as well, so we're going to see him just based on the dead cap hit. And he's just not a wide receiver 2. He's not a wide receiver 1, potentially wide receiver 3 on a team that doesn't really need him to be successful, because when the Giants have needed Darius Slayton to step up, he's truly nowhere to be found. Correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I think it was the Vikings playoff game 2022. He might have had a monster drop towards the end of that game too that really could have ruined the entire game. I'm going to go back and fact check myself on this, but if you remember it, just drop it in the comments. Next up, Wan'Dale Robinson, gadget player, not a wide receiver 1, not a wide receiver 2, a guy who he had the monster game against the Cowboys, but let's be honest, everyone's had monster game against the Cowboys so far this season. So gadget player, they use in the screens game, short intermediary routes, but he's never really open downfield. And when they do throw it to him in the end zone, he's too tiny to go up and grab these balls. He had one knocked out against, in the last few weeks, there's been 2 knocked out of his hands that he's just not big enough to grab. But I'm not even mad at them. It's just I'm more mad at Joe Shane for assembling such a piss poor crew outside of one guy who had injury problems in his rookie season. And I'm not sure how he determined that he was going to fix this, because he didn't. He said Jalin Hyatt will be our, 4th or 5th wide receiver who's going to have to step and play. And you know what? He's on the list because I've seen enough of him. They drafted him. They traded up to draft that guy. He hasn't done shit. He runs in a straight line. He also can't block downfield. Jackson Dart got in his face after one of the plays in the Saints game. And then also, if you go back to my video from the Chargers game, there was 2 plays in a row back-to-back on the video where I'm like, what is Jalin Hyatt doing blocking downfield? He blows a block on a Wan'Dale Robinson screen. And then later on, I think Scotabo almost breaks one, or maybe Singletary, I forget which one. And they were inevitably tackled, but Jalin Hyatt's just standing there like kind of like kitty bumping who's ever in front of him. So he just can't play at this level, or maybe he'll be one of the other Giants who goes somewhere else and has success, because whatever they've tried to figure out with him, they sell you, oh, he put 15 pounds on this offseason, he's coming in, he could start blocking, he could develop his route tree. Hasn't happened. We haven't seen it, and I don't think it's going to happen either, at least in Big Blue. Bo Collins quits on his route at the end of the game for the final interception. I don't know what that was. I mean, is that enough to even not come back, for just not even giving us, your teammates, but even us as fans, the bottom line effort in a big moment? Because of what? Did you think you were held or something and you just stopped? Plenty of wide receivers are held. Look at the Odell Beckham Jr. one-handed catch. He was held 3 times in pass interference and he still made it. But does that bring me to my next point? Should we sign Odell? For a very long time, I've been very vocal on this channel of saying I don't want to bring him back because it is a throwback to all of our nostalgia of how much we love him. He's not the same player that he was when he initially left, and I believe 2018 at this point? Shit. And it's just, I don't want us to like look at him and say, obviously I don't think we'll be mad at him because this wide receiver core is so bad at this point. So maybe it's worth taking that flyer on him to see what he could do. At least it would give us something, to be happy about and get us to tune in and watch the game, because right now I'm not watching a Giants game because they have Darius Slayton out there, Wan'Dale Robinson, Bo Collins, or Jalin Hyatt. That's just not enough to get asses in the seats. It's not enough for this offense to win, and that's on Joe Schoen. So screw it at this point. Why not give Odell one last dance in MetLife where it started for him and see what he could do? And what's the worst that could happen? I mean, but here's also the thing that I want to leave you with today is the Giants cap space is they have the least, one of the top 5, I believe, least amount of cap space in the league. Where is that money going? Because clearly whoever they're paying and giving this money to, I could name a few off the top of my head besides Dexter, Brian Burns. They should be paid and compensated for their play. But outside of that, where is this money going that it's translating directly onto success on the field? And it's one of those things where it's not. And then on top of that, when these guys leave in free agency and go wherever they're going, you could bet your ass they're going to be successful wherever they go next. I wish I had a more positive message for you guys today, but with the Giants at 7.5-point underdogs, I can't really be too positive, especially with how this, that Saints game went after the 2 opening drives. Maybe something happens where the Giants might look good for a little bit, and maybe Jackson Dart can make these other shitty wide receivers good enough to somehow win a game. But I don't know. It could get ugly. It could get ugly fast. This season is spiraling out of control, and I'm not sure what's going to happen Thursday night versus the Eagles. But we'll be watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. This is probably one of the best videos that I've had, just naturally flowing through just speaking, even though I just butchered it right there. So let me know how you guys think this video went, what your thoughts are for Thursday night at home. And yeah, I'll catch you guys then. Thanks for watching.